Hey everyone, I wanted to go over the new and exciting news that we got for Monster Hunter Rise on the Nintendo Switch and on PC. And that's the fact that we're going to be going over a couple of brand new developer campaign updates that the development team has decided to provide us with. Essentially back in around August, they started this campaign, providing us with screenshots and something of like a first look behind the scenes type of thing, where we're getting details on very specific areas and scenarios from the development cycle for Monster Hunter Rise originally on the Nintendo Switch, giving us a little bit of a first glance on decisions made throughout the development process, decisions made to better the rendering, making the game a little bit more flexible, or simply put, things that could be a little bit cool to check out for yourself in the game itself. So for our first image, the description reads as follows: the sunset in the Silver World. The center of the cold archipelago's isles is relatively low terrain, so you can actually see really far in the distance as the sun sets. Now recently we've started to get a closer look at the frozen isles. We have already gone through the shrine ruins and the flooded forest, and one of the biggest takeaways here in the frozen isles is the fact that they really went at hard at basically providing us with something of a interesting look in all areas around the map. One of the things that they spoke about in one of the previous developer campaign posts that we went over was that they talked about how the surroundings of the area really needed to really stand out. It was something that they worked on because this is a pretty distant place from actual Camera Village. So they went ahead and tried to, I guess, settle it in a world map scenario and really give us a glimpse into the entirety of the ecosystem that is surrounding Camera Village. It is worth mentioning that out of all the maps, the Frozen Isles does have the highest peak as well. This is something that we've also talked over before. So it is worth considering that probably one of the reasons why they wanted to give the longest perspective, one of the best looks around the entire map, was because you could reach the highest point and you basically didn't want to have like empty areas surrounding the entire map. So in that regard, it does make sense. And then the following image that we're going to be taking a look at, it actually reads: it feels like the moon has been seen from the mountaintops in the winter is one of the favorite ones decided by the entire development team. I remember that the creators pulled out the trees that were in place in some specific areas due to the processing limitations. So this is now actually the second post we've been able to see. The first one was in the flooded forest, talking about the god rays essentially coming down through a very specific crevice from the top to the lower layer in the flooded forest, and that very much gave them trouble when it came to processing and limiting the load on the Nintendo Switch. This is now the second one that they've actually go ahead and mentioned that pretty much they had to basically remove trees entirely due to the limitations of the processing. Now trees and like god rays are two completely processing natures entirely. One of them can be simply limited, like they mentioned, just by removing trees and making it a little bit easier to do. But when it comes to the whole god rays and the visual look of the game, it has to do with specular designs and all of that, so it's a little bit different in that regard. This one is a little bit more straightforward, so it's interesting that they even decided to acknowledge this specific part, especially in a certain part of the map. I presume this is, I believe, around the starting area on the right side when you actually go up that little bit of a cliff. So it's not even necessarily an impressive area to begin with. It's just the fact that they had to cull back some of the trees to be able to have better processing. But that's about all the information that I wanted to go over in this specific developer campaign updates. I always love that they go over these. They provide us with some interesting information regarding some of the areas for the map. And I cannot wait to see the ones that they do for SUNBREAK, which of course is already in development and is looking like it's going to have some really interesting ideas, especially with that very first map we already saw with the Decrepit Castle. If you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.